Hey, what's up, everybody? Matt here, and I'm really excited to be bringing you this live stream. I know we're a little bit early. I just need to make sure that I can bring Kim up. But I see we've already got a few of you live, so I hope you're excited to learn a bit about how you can start generating client referrals from doctors, because that's going to be a really hot lead. People trust their doctors. Doctors have authority. So when they refer to you, you're going to have that transfer of trust. So Kim, I'm sending you an invite to come up, and then we can get things kicked off. Video's fuzzy. Is that happening for anybody else or just Carrie at the moment? And how's the audio? Awesome. Thanks, Carrie. Fuzzy. Interesting. Hey, Kim, how you doing?
Hi, Matt. Good. How are you?
Awesome. Ooh, let's see. I need to change up the audio settings, which is always a fun thing. So let's see. But I'm doing good. You're coming out of my microphone right now, so it sounds like I've got Robot Kim.
Oh, okay. No problem.
All right. And there we go. Everything's ready to go. All right. What's up, Kim? Now that we have the tech gremlins sorted out, good to have you here.
There's always tech gremlins, right? So yeah. Can you hear me okay now and see me okay and everything?
I can hear you, I can see you, and I'm excited to bring this beautiful class to everybody that's joining in today.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's going to be great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. And it was fun jumping on your show as well. It's cool being able to bring value to each other's communities. And I don't know if anybody's joining from Kim's community, but welcome.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's so fun to be able to share and connect and all of those pieces. So yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I think it would be really helpful today. What we're going to be diving into is we'll be diving to how people can build enough trust with doctors that they can actually start getting some client referrals. I'd love to learn a little bit about what process you would recommend for getting referrals from doctors once that trust is built, and how to nurture and maintain that relationship on an ongoing basis. So we'll dive into all that, but I think it's really important for people to have some context. Why are you the right person to teach people how to get referrals from doctors? What's your background, Kim?
Yeah, great question. Right. So so I'm an MD. I'm a family doctor by training. I practiced primary care, as a family doctor for almost 20 years. And but yeah, I describe myself as an MD turned wellness coach. So I started off in traditional medicine and then pivoted myself into health and wellness. Really it's a very long story and I won't go into all the gruesome details just here. But yeah, my journey really, I experienced all of the frustrations and limitations of the conventional healthcare system, that I don't have to describe to this community. I'm pretty confident, or really to any community at this stage of the game, right? But yeah, and then I discovered this amazing world of health and wellness coaching that it probably didn't exist when I first went into medicine. First was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed young person wanting to just help people. Then, of course, discovering that there was a lot of problems, a lot of breakdown in terms of how we can actually help people through the conventional healthcare system. But then I discovered this amazing thing called health and wellness coaching. And yeah, from there, it just set me off on a whole new trajectory into that world myself, and then building a whole business for myself, finding success for myself in this whole new venture of entrepreneurship and marketing and all these things that I really didn't have to do when I was a doctor. but really had a lot of fun with it, actually. Discovered that it was, again, this whole other side of things that was really fascinating and fun. And then from there, I pivoted again, right? Like after doing that for a while and finding success and fulfillment and making a bigger difference, I really started to help other health and wellness coaches who I was then, I was more embroiled in this whole world, right, of coaching, and really connecting with all of these other people who were super passionate about getting out there and helping people through, improving their health and wellness, but they were struggling to build their businesses, right? For lots of different reasons that we can talk about. But yeah, and so that's what I did, is that I started to just help others. In fact, one of the key things that I helped people with was how to make connections with people in the healthcare world, like how to connect with doctors and healthcare professionals and practitioners to get referrals to grow your business, because that was something that I was being asked about all the time. So then, of course, I just was helping people in a more informal way, and then kind of building from there, created programs and mentorship, and started coaching people on that. So then it just kind of snowballed from there. So long story, I guess, but that's where I come from, and that's where I am now.
Awesome. Yeah, so it sounds like you are the perfect person to be teaching us today how to start getting those referrals from doctors and other healthcare professionals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I hope so.
So then I'm curious, where do you recommend people start? Because I imagine, with the process, the first thing that has to happen is there has to be there has to be an approach. So how would you recommend that somebody approach a doctor or healthcare worker in order to start forming a relationship that may one day lead to a client referral relationship?
Yeah, that's a good question. So before, though, like I always advise my clients and people who are in my programs just to back up a little bit before you even start. I know that everybody's really keen to get out there and start talking to doctors and start like present, because you're excited, right? Like you know that you've got all this awesome stuff to share, and you're just really super excited to get out there. But before you do that, it's really important to be strategic, especially when you're approaching healthcare professionals, because a big thing is trust, right? For doctors especially, but for anybody who's like in a regulated health profession, trust is paramount. And so you've really got to do some work like behind the scenes before you actually go out there and approach doctors. So I always recommend that in my system, there's what I call creating your referral-friendly foundation. So you really need to do some work in your business first to make sure that all your ducks are in a row, kind of, and just make sure that you're totally set to go when it comes time to approaching doctors. And so some of the things, that you need to do to create that referral-friendly foundation, just to make sure, is that you need to be really clear on who it is that you would want this physician to refer to you. Because that's going to help you in a couple of different ways. One is it will help you to figure out who you're going to target, like which healthcare professionals are you going to target? Because we're in the age of specialized medicine, right? Yes, there is primary care, but maybe that might not be the right person to approach. There's specialists and subspecialists in all different areas, and physicians practice in different geographic areas, different demographics in their practices. So you starting off being clear on who it is that you want to work with and who you want them to send your way is going to help you define and target exactly who's going to be the right fit for you. Otherwise, it doesn't really make any sense. And that's just good business practice anyway, right? I'm sure that you tell your community that too, right? Matt, is just, you've got to know exactly who it is that you're trying to attract. And so it's the same exact principle. So you don't want to go to a doctor and just be like, I'll work with anybody in your practice who, needs to improve their health. Like, that's just not good marketing, and it's not going to really create that connection and make it really clear for a physician who it is in their practice that they want to send your way, because you really need them to know and have a very clear picture in their mind of which person is going to be your ideal client. Like when that person is sitting in their office and they're, going through their medical visit with them, they need to know, oh yeah, right. This is the person that health coach was saying, or, that nutritionist was saying that she really wanted to work, would benefit from her services. So this would be the perfect fit, right? So you need to make it as easy as possible for the physician to know who it is that you want to send your way. So that's part of building your referral friendly foundation is defining who it is. You also want to be able to explain to a doctor what it is that you're going to be doing with their patient. So because again, this goes back to that trust thing that I mentioned, is that trust is paramount. They need to have confidence that if they recommend you or refer somebody directly to you, they need to know that they're sending their patient over and they're going to be in good hands, right? So you have to really be able to explain how your process works. What are the outcomes of somebody working with you? What are the benefits? What's going to be included? All of those things. Again, it's really, really parallel to just basic marketing principles, right? You have to be able to explain this stuff to your potential clients. And really, a physician that you're talking to is kind of like a stand-in for your potential clients, right? Like they're the intermediate. So you got to be able to explain it to them too. So yeah, does that make sense? Does that sort of help to understand?
Yeah, makes total sense. Laying the foundation. Sounds like you can't just come in with no idea about who you serve and no idea what you're going to do with people and expect that the doctor is just going to be jumping at the opportunity to, put their trust in you and refer patients.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but then the other thing, like in terms of before you ever want to approach a doctor or start like making those first conversations and inroads, is you also want to make sure that your mindset is right. And this is, again, it's true for so much of business, but you really need to watch your own limiting beliefs. And I hear this for sure all the time in my community. One of the main reasons, like I ask people regularly, what is your hesitation about approaching doctors for referrals? And the most common one that I hear is that they're afraid that doctors aren't going to be on board with the idea of health coaching or wellness coaching or whatever. And this is a reason why people don't ever reach out and approach doctors for referrals, right? But you don't need all doctors to be on board. And this is why, this is the wrong mindset. Like if you're worried that, oh, doctors aren't on board with this, then, and you're therefore not actually approaching anybody, that doesn't make any sense, unfortunately, because you just don't need them all to be on board. Are there doctors who are going to be totally disinterested in what you're talking about? Yes, definitely. Like, I wish that there weren't. I wish that, that everybody's going to be all, sounds amazing. This is perfect. Like you just said, like jumping at the opportunity. For sure, you're going to encounter, resistance or skepticism or whatever, right? But you don't need everybody. You just need one, right? Like one doctor who's on board, and definitely those physicians are out there. People who, sometimes it's like a younger doctor who's like all brand new and super keen. Sometimes it's a, older physician who has been practicing for a long time and is super jaded at the limitations of conventional medicine, right? Has really experienced that and is looking for something different and something more that he can do to help his patients really turn their lives around. So you can't really judge based on those external factors, but there definitely are doctors who are on board, and your job is to find those doctors, right? To find those ones and to not take it personally when you encounter the healthcare practitioners who are not on board, because it's okay. And again, I feel like I keep saying this, but it's the same thing in business, right? Like you don't need all clients to be like, yes, let's work together. You just simply don't need all people in the world to be on board with your services and to become your client. You just need a few. So especially with a physician, doctors have thousands of patients typically in their practice. They see multiple, like an average family doctor sees like 30 people a day. They've got access to a lot of potential people every day. And if you get one doctor who's really on board with what you're talking about and is readily sending people over to you, that's kind of all you need actually to fill up your practice. You can then grow from there and use that one referral relationship that you've built to sort of leverage into more referral relationships with other physicians, because it gives you that credibility and authority, right, that you've built up with that one. But really, to get started, you just need that one kind of gem person. So that's also, to me, that's also part of being ready, like getting yourself ready to go out there and approach doctors, is that you make sure that your mind is on right.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And like you've been saying, it's just the same as business and the same as marketing. It's just, instead of going straight to the client, you're going to an intermediary, the doctor or the healthcare worker. So I'd be curious, from your experience, what are some of the reasons that a doctor or other healthcare worker would be interested in referring their patients to a health or wellness coach in the first place?
Yeah, well, I mean, there can be all different kinds of reasons, but just remember that, physicians are, they're front facing and they are dealing with people and their health every single day, all day long, usually without a lunch break. Like they're in the trenches, right? And so they are seeing, I have yet to talk to a physician, and obviously I have worked with many and have interacted with many. I've yet to talk to one who hasn't had at least some degree of frustration that people, don't listen to them. Like that comment comes out all the time. Like I tell people what to do and they don't listen, right? And we in medicine always call this people being non-compliant. But I call it being a human being, right? So like if your doctor tells you you need to lose weight so that your blood pressure can come down, or so that you can take the stress off your joints and, whatever, get your diabetes under control, you need to lose weight. And then they don't, because you've had 10, like as a doctor, right? And I'm thinking, I've got my physician hat on now, I've got 10 minutes with them, tell them this piece of wisdom, brilliant wisdom, right? Send them out and then expect them to come back 3 months later having figured this incredibly difficult change out for themselves. Like, no, that it just doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And more doctors I find are really realizing this, that there's so much more, of course, that we can do for people. Like, yes, a physician can write a prescription, but who is helping a person to, change their diet, get more active, manage their stress? Like nobody is helping them even make those changes that a physician is implementing. And so increasingly, as like coaches, nutritionists, and like allied healthcare professionals are becoming like kind of rising up in terms of general awareness, people are becoming more aware that this is a thing. Doctors are becoming aware of it too, and are starting to look at it as being a potential solution for how their patients could actually get great results and really turn their lives and their health around. So, I mean, doctors go into it, generally speaking, because they want to help people, right? Like that's usually the motivation when you decide. I mean, that was my motivation when I was 17 and I decided that I wanted to be or go to medical school. Like I wanted to help people be healthy. And so it's very frustrating when you get out there and you realize that your tools are actually limited. It's kind of a rude awakening when you realize that. And so that's why, if you can, you as a coach, or, and I use the word coach usually because that's what most of my community is, but, whatever your title is, but if you position yourself to a healthcare professional in this way, that you can actually fill that gap, like you are the gap fill between what the doctor tells them to do, lose weight, manage stress, get more sleep, whatever it is, and them actually doing it. So many physicians will be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I exactly need my patients to experience that and to get access to that.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Like, I know, for example, my wife was a physio by practice. And the thing is, she would be assigning exercises for people to do in their spare time. They'd show up for their next appointment and they just want that like manual therapy that got them out of pain again, but they weren't going to actually do the things to fill the gap in between.
Yeah. And
so now, like for her, she wants to be the health coach who fills the gap in between because she saw that. And so it is interesting to see there's a limited amount that a doctor or physician can do in 10 minutes. And they do actually want people to get better. Ultimately, they probably got into medicine, like you said, because bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, really happy to go out and change the world. And that's the path that they saw for themselves. So I think that makes a lot of sense in terms of how to think about what role you as a health or wellness coach can fill for the doctor and their patient. So now that we know that, I'm curious, when it comes to the nuts and the bolts, how do you actually approach a doctor, and how does it look to set up that referral relationship? Is there any ethical things that the doctor has to tiptoe around if they are making a referral?
Yeah, and I mean, most of my answers to that question are going to be, it depends, because it does depend on the particular situation. But just in terms of like the nuts and bolts of actually approaching, whether it's an individual doctor, a medical office, whatever it is that you're approaching. I mean, the first thing is you need to prepare your pitch, right? Like you need to prepare your messaging. You need to know exactly how you're going to kind of go in there, and it needs to be tight. Because if there's one thing that's true, it's that doctors really don't have any time at all, right? Like they are going to be, if they're paying attention to you, it's going to be on the fly. It's going to be really brief. So you need to have a really tightly honed pitch to give to them. And so, and the most important thing in your pitch really is, well, there's a few important things, but the most important thing really is the way that you're positioning yourself. So a lot of people will go in and approach doctors as though you are asking for a favor, right? And that's because you're thinking of it as your perspective, right? Like you're like, oh, I'm trying to build this business and I'm having a hard time getting clients. And so I want to get as many clients as I would love to give me a client. So you're going in there like, I'm this new health coach in town and I would really love to get some clients. Would you consider sending me some clients? It'd really help me out. Like that kind of approach. This is totally wrong. This is not the way to do it. You're not asking them for a favor. That's not what you're doing. It's not that they wouldn't want to help you out. It's not like that. It's just that's not the right stance for a pitch, right? So you really need to go in with how is this going to help them and help their patients, right? So that's how you're positioning yourself, which is really what we were just talking about, is that this is, they are experiencing frustration on a daily basis because of patients who are unable and just are having a really hard time making lifestyle changes. And so just their health is deteriorating before their eyes. And, it's just, so you're helping with that piece, but you're also helping a doctor generally, depending entirely on what your niche is and what exactly you're helping them with, but you are also helping them with their own stress. Like, and I'm talking about the doctor's own stress in their workday, because again, they just don't have the time to do all of this stuff. They definitely have patients who are sitting there in their office saying, what can I eat that would make me, better? What can I do? Like, what should I do? Or, for example, like when I was working in family medicine, a lot of like irritable bowel syndrome, right? Like a lot of just digestive issues. And we, where I was practicing, had a massive shortage of gastroenterologists, right? So I just really couldn't refer anybody to a GI. And I really had very limited time and tools to walk somebody through how to figure out what is, but if I did some tests and things like that, run the gamut, like you've gone as far as you can in the conventional medicine, like what you can do. And then you're kind of like, oh, so frustrating. Like, I don't really know what to do with you. But people with chronic conditions like that don't really fit into like a specialist's box, they keep coming back because of course they're looking for solutions, right? And it is very frustrating as a physician. So if you are a coach that deals with issues like that, beautiful. Like you can say, something along the lines of, those patients who keep coming back to your office because they are suffering with this chronic condition and you don't know what you can do for them anymore, I can help with that. And that will be like a light bulb moment for the doctor that you are speaking to, because that will be like a problem solved for them, right? So this is where when you're honing your pitch like that, you want it to be really positioning you as a solution for their problems and their patients' problems. If that makes sense.
Makes total sense. It's like any pitch.
Exactly. Yes.
It's about them. Yeah.
Exactly. It's sales, just in, sort of a slightly different environment. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's say that somebody goes through this process, they get their mindset right, they get their offer right, they figure out which doctors would be good options, and they finally find themselves a doctor who's willing to make referrals. So they've built enough trust, but how do they maintain that trust with a doctor? How do they make sure that the doctor is happy once they've referred people in to continue making those referrals?
Yeah, this is really important because you don't just want it to be like, I make that connection. Awesome. They're sending me people my way. That's all. I don't need to, job done, like case closed. Of course, like that's just not good practice. So of course you want to keep that communication open. Ideally, there's lots of different things that you can do, right? But I often recommend, to my students and clients to keep that communication line open, and with your client's permission, like it has to be with your client's permission, send results and like breakthroughs that your client is having. Guess what? So-and-so that you sent my way 3 months ago, she has managed to successfully lose 30 pounds. She's feeling better than ever, that kind of thing. Or another way to do this is to actually encourage your client to go in and see their doctor again and talk about the results that they have experienced with you, right? Because then they become like your, raving fan, your testimonial, your walking, breathing testimonial. And that loop is beautiful to continue to encourage a physician who's maybe what I've seen a few times is that somebody will send a couple of kind of test people your way, right? They'll sort of test this out and see how it goes. And if that person comes back having had like an amazing transformation or being able to solve something that they previously couldn't solve, then, that of course, then they're going to just have it in their mind. Like, okay, this is really a good thing for me to recommend to my patients. So I'm going to send more people her way. So yeah, so definitely share those results with your client's permission, or just get them to go in and let them know. So that's an effective way for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes total sense. It's like, again, it's just like business. You want to provide that amazing experience to the clients that actually get referred in. You want to help them get results, but also, the thing that I find is the better experience that they have emotionally as well, the more likely they are going to be to rave about you and to want to go that extra mile to talk about you. And so usually we're looking for people to talk about us to their friends or to their family or to other people who can help. But in this case, we want them to go back and create that feedback loop with the doctor so that the doctor is now happy and excited about referring more people in. And then you get access to, like you said, potentially thousands of people because doctors are seeing up to 30 patients a day. So, yeah. Of course, a great client experience is one of the best marketing and sales tools in your toolbox, as funny as that sounds.
Yeah, it's so true. And it can get overlooked for sure because it's not flashy, doesn't seem particularly sexy, but it really is it's just good, old-fashioned effective. And also to that end, that is actually a way that many of my clients have gotten their first doctor on board with them is a client that they have had who has had really amazing results. Most people have a doctor who they access, right? So asking outright your client to, on their next physician or visit or checkup or whatever, to mention that they're working with you and that they've been thrilled and that they've been able to make this change in their life and they're sleeping better than ever, or they were able to quit smoking, or, whatever it is, right? That's a beautiful, warm introduction to a physician who would have had no idea that you existed and that you could have helped somebody.
Absolutely. And that goes for so many different healthcare workers. I know, for example, in my own health and nutrition coaching practice, I had set up plenty of great referral relationships with personal trainers, with physical therapists. Even my dad was one of our clients, worked with a different coach, not me, but he went from needing statins prescribed to having pretty much perfect blood work. And then his doctor was asking him, hey, how can I help more of my patients do what you did? And so it is one of those things where you might not even have to be the one to approach the doctor directly, but you can bet that at least one of your clients has a primary care physician that may have had some health issues if they came to you in the first place. And so then if you now know, you can ask them, hey, if you go to your doctor next time, or if they say, hey, I got these great blood results back from my doctor was amazed. You can just be like, hey, would you be willing to recommend me to your doctor, or let your doctor know that, I helped with this and maybe I can set up a referral relationship. And I think that's a really cool way to go about it, especially for anybody who's a little bit shy on the open or shy on the pitch. Because I know
Yeah.
there's plenty of people, myself included, who can be a little bit shy about opening conversations.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. It can definitely be intimidating. So that's a perfect like backdoor way kind of thing. Yeah. And it can be, yeah, super, super effective kind of thing. And I've seen it work lots of times to get those initial relationships just starting to build. So, and most people like, your clients are probably super excited and happy to help you, but they might not be thinking of it, right? Like it's not top of mind for them. And so you have to really make the ask. You really have to be explicit about it. And most people, when you ask them to do something like that, are more than happy to do it to help you, which in turn helps other people. Like most people are, generous and helpful in this way. And it's really not even a big ask, but they wouldn't necessarily think of it unless you actually specifically suggested it.
Exactly. And I really want to highlight that point for everybody, because when I was promoting this talk, I talked about how most people, referrals is one of the best ways that they can generate clients, but referrals tend to just happen by accident because they provide a good experience. And occasionally a client refers somebody in. And they're not strategic about asking for referrals, because being strategic about when you ask and how you ask, that is what takes referrals from a, if it happens, to a, like, this is actually consistent and I can rely upon this thing. So I know I usually recommend when somebody comes to you and has that first really good result or has some really great breakthrough with working with you, that's a great time to ask them to share about it. But would you say that there's anything in particular with the doctor referrals that is a good time to ask a client to potentially speak about you?
Well, I agree. Like what you just said, basically if they've had a really great breakthrough, and it can be anything, it doesn't have to be just like their numbers, like their lipid numbers coming down or something like that. It doesn't have to be. I mean, it's nice, but it could be just that they are feeling more energetic, better, healthier than ever, really feel supported, feel like they have somebody on their team to help them make some changes for the long term, like any of those kinds of, like you said, emotional breakthroughs that really highlights, because that's just something that any doctor knows they are not getting their patients anything like that. Like that just doesn't happen in the healthcare system. So, to really highlight the massive difference that people can achieve and the quality of life that they can attain by working with a coach, that would be a really, so if they're feeling like that, if they're feeling really excited about, the power of coaching and the power of having this other team member on their, healthcare team, basically, then that's a great time to actually, introduce the concept to their doctor.
Awesome. Love it. I feel like you've shared so much value in terms of how to start getting client referrals from doctors. I'm curious, is there anything I didn't ask about that you feel like is important for everyone watching to know about this process and this amazing potential lead generation and referral source that's available to them?
Well, I would say that, in terms of I often think of like the mistakes that people make, because there's a lot of them, right? Like some key mistakes, and we kind of covered a number of them, but I also do find that the biggest mistake, and it's kind of like a combo of mindset and strategy, is giving up too soon. This is like the number one thing that I see. So I hear so often that like a coach will say, well, I tried, reaching out to a doctor in my community, and he said I got a total brush off. And so I'm not doing that again. Right. And that is, it's just, again, it's like sales are so rarely made just with the one first introductory point of contact, right? And so you're just kind of breaking the ice there. And also that was just one, like I often ask people, okay, well, how many physician or medical offices did you actually approach? And they're like, well, just the one, and so it's just giving. And I think that, of course, then what's usually going on is your own fears, right? And which is what we talked about before, right? So your fear-based mind is pulling up excuses and saying, oh, well, that was scary. They didn't believe in it, or they didn't buy it anyway. I'm not putting myself in that situation ever again by not happening again. Which, of course, like most of the success for people that I have worked with and, helped to achieve this kind of referral network, really, it doesn't come with just one point of contact. So you need to kind of thicken up your skin a little, and keep going out there. Continue to show up, provide value, be a friendly face, and not give up after a single attempt, and really hold on to your why. Whenever you're trying to do a hard thing or an intimidating thing, is really just keep tapping into your why, like why you're doing this, and just think about the people that you can help. And if you can just get this connection created, then it can just make such a massive, massive difference for people. And so those people are waiting for you to kind of get over yourself right now and just like go back out there and, keep trying, because it's so worth it if you can get that established. So that would really be like but otherwise, I mean, we talked about a lot. I think we covered a lot of things.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think that's so important to highlight, not just for getting referrals from doctors, but for your business and sales in general. Because I think it was the Sales Executive Council did a study, and what they ended up finding was that it's after the 6th point of contact with a sales prospect that most sales happen. And most sales professionals give up after the 2nd point of contact, at which point I think it was like less than 30% of sales happen. So yeah, persistence and getting out of your own way so that you have the confidence to be persistent, I think, are really important points that you just highlighted. So thanks for bringing those up.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Kim, thank you so much for being so generous with your time and giving us another great tool in our toolkit for how to actually generate leads for our business and build our business. So if anybody wanted to learn a little bit more about how to get referrals from doctors, do you have anything that you could point them towards?
Yeah, well, actually, one of the best things to do, first of all, is I created a quiz that is designed. It's a quick and easy quiz that you can complete for free. That will tell you if your health coaching business or wellness coaching business is ready for physician referrals. So it's just like it gives you kind of a temperature taking on like how ready are you, like that referral friendly foundation that I was talking about. Like, do you have that set up, or do you have some work to do? And then I give you, based on your results, I give you, kind of some action steps, like what you need to do next to get yourself all set up. So you can find that quiz at drkimfoster.com/quiz. And then it only takes like 5 minutes kind of thing. And that's a great starting point, just to really give you an idea of whether you're actually ready to go.
Awesome. Very cool idea, by the way, from a marketer standpoint. I love that.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, Kim, once again, thank you so much for being generous with your time. It's been great to now have 2 conversations with you, and I look forward to more in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so nice to talk to you too, Matt. Have an awesome day.
Awesome. And for everybody watching, have an amazing day, whether it's live or the replay. Peace.